And that was the thing last year. Like the vibes were so bad in Philly and it was such a boring offense to watch. I mean, Hurts still finished, I think, QB7. A.J. Brown was still wide receiver 11. So, wasn't the usual sky high stuff we're used to seeing, but for your worst case season, man, still pretty good.
Hurts for you, Tony? Yes or no?
I have been a Hurts believer for a long time. He has saved many of my fantasy teams, and it's like that, that good friend that probably isn't the best person in your friend group, probably doesn't return on your texts all the time, probably isn't the one that you should go to with big questions about morality, but you still the friend you just can't give up. That's Jalen Hurts to me, man. I love him.
At Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog. Code Mayo at Underdog. If you didn't know, best ball drafts, millions of dollars up for grabs. You might as well get some of that, all right? Today, the quarterback rankings by tier, player by player. We're breaking it down, making our rankings, voting on it, and all of those rankings will be in the show notes to this podcast and video. If you're looking for running backs, wide receivers, you can go hit those shows and they'll have those rankings in there too. I'll have the entire top 150 coming out soon if you sub to the free Mayo Media newsletter, which again, you can find down in the show notes. So smash the like, give me your favorite sleeper at quarterback this year. Ian Hartitz from RotoWire is on with me right now. It's just me and you, kind of, for the moment, because Jake is on his 13th week of vacation this summer.
Must be nice, man. Shout out to the Athletic, man. Hopefully Jake's ready for these drafts, though, Pat. Haven't seen him in these streets that much, so I'm ready for him to be back. And maybe the next show we'll record what Jake actually will be recorded, as well.
That is true. We lost part 2 of the wide receiver ranking show, so that's lost to time. The audio didn't record. Would have been the best show too. We'll make this the best show because filling in for Jake right now, fresh off a runner-up appearance on So You Think You Can Tout, Tony Squares, welcome to the show, man.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me. First off, I'm over here taking notes because that was such a professional intro by you. The people don't know.
Come on.
The red light started and out come the promos, out come the lines. I'm over here being like, all right, this is what I got to step up to. So I'm here, Pat. I'm ready to go.
Are you ready to talk quarterbacks?
I'm ready to talk quarterbacks. I got a couple of sleepers myself. I don't know how these rankings are going to work. I don't know how argumentative, how combative we're going to be with each other, but I have a couple of guys that are much higher and much lower than ADP. So I'm interested to see where you two guys have in your minds and where we can come together to make these rankings.
Well, I've checked my show notes that says contentious, good. So fight as much as possible. You can use the ADP tool, whether it's redraft or best ball. We're doing redraft, 4 points per touchdown pass is what we're breaking down right now. Because in best ball, just draft whoever you want. It's a great pick. We have best ball breakdowns end up going here, just stacking with your team. It's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about your office league, your league with buddies, the fantasy football that no one talks about that everyone still plays. That's what we're talking about on this show today. And if you want to get the ADP comparison tool, along with all your research tools, the number 4, the word 4, then the number 4, 444.com. Code Mayo gets you 25% off all the preseason packages for season long. That also works for DFS, and it works for the Sharp Stack betting tool as well, which comes along with the Discord. Get yourself in, get that 25% off with Code Mayo. Let's start with him. Josh Allen, Ian, is going as QB numero uno, but that's only pick number 29, sorry. He's going as low as 21. That would be on ESPN, casuals. And then in high stakes leagues, he's going around 30 or 31, which is almost around later. If it was up to you and someone told you you had to draft a quarterback, would it be Josh Allen, and would it be way further down the list than anyone else? Like, is there anyone even in his tier at this point?
I have him as the only man in his tier. I will say, Pat, if you go ahead and peep those ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper, Home League ADPs, Bo Nix, Jared Goff goes outside the top 120. You can wait until like round 11 to get your guy, man. Why not? It's round 11. Look at the other guys going around 11.
Okay, so maybe we should talk about strategy and philosophy about drafting quarterbacks, because I think this is important. And it's not that Jared Goff won't finish as the number 9 quarterback. There was a year, I think it was the second to last year of Phillip Rivers' career, that he finished inside the top 14 every single week at quarterback, but I don't think he was ever better than 7th any of those weeks. Like, that guy's not helping you win shit.
I disagree. You look at Jared Goff this year, he does not have a real outdoor game until week 17 in Chicago, which I understand is a little bit annoying, but we got to make it to week 17 before we can kind of deal with the fantasy championship issues as well. I just think, man, this dude's got 3 straight seasons with 4,500 passing yards. The rest of the NFL has 6 combined. So again, if you're just trying to tier it out and you're trying to see like, when can I get the best patch of a position when the other ones are dying out? For me, it's late round quarterback season. I know you asked me though about Josh Allen, Pat, and I will say I've run some of these numbers. ESPN at the end of every season, the freaking, I forget his name, but one of those gods actually gives out the playoff advance rates for every player. It's been really good for Josh Allen, man. He's always been going this early, but since 2020, again, the amount of teams that Allen has appeared on playoff rosters, 50%, 49%, 59%, 62%, 58, and 57% over these last 2 years. So as much as I do like my late round quarterbacks, teams that have drafted Josh Allen early in ESPN have generally made the playoffs.
Tony, what's your
I love
philosophy?
Yeah, I'm much more the late round guy. I don't know if Jared Goff is the one I'd be circling, but Josh Allen coming in the 30s, he's the only one you could even make an argument to go that high because of what he's produced, as Ian has said, over the past few seasons. The thing that worries me this year about Josh Allen, yes, DJ Moore's coming in, could open up that offense a hell of a lot more, could make life easier for the James Cooks and Dalton Kincaids of the world, but the loss of the offensive lineman, David Edwards, going to another team, I think that's going to hurt that offensive line big time in this season, and their offensive line coach is no longer there as well. Those little things will add up, and I think for a guy that took as much pressure as Josh Allen has the past few seasons trying to make plays, it might be the most difficult season for Josh Allen to get that clean pocket and to make those plays, and a lot more is going to be put on Superman's chest. However, when it comes to Josh Allen as alone in a tier, that's where I have my first disagreement, because Lamar Jackson is going a hell of a lot later, and I still have Lamar in the same tier as Josh Allen. I understand last year was a fall from grace for Lamar. A lot of that to me was due to injuries and the stuff happening around him. Those first 3 games that Lamar had, he was putting up excellent, like top of the world numbers. And then he's injured in week 4, and the rest of the season is kind of lost from that. So could you wait a few rounds and get Lamar and still get the production that Josh Allen gives you? That's what I would gun for if you want the top QB.
So, Ian, Lamar is going as low as 63. That's in the NFFC, so high stakes. On ESPN, he's still going 34th. So he's going in the same relative range as Josh Allen on ESPN. Nowhere else in the world is this happening in terms of ADP. And I think Tony spelled it out pretty well. It's not that Lamar is on a different tier in terms of what upside fantasy production is going to be. It's if he tweaks his knee, he's no longer nearly as valuable as Josh Allen, who, despite getting injured, tends to play through all these injuries and still produce.
Yeah, and Josh Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback we make fun of for having the tush push touchdowns. But look at Josh's rushing lines over these past few years. He's been doing all that same bullshit as well. So Lamar, I do worry as much as his yards per attempt, and his passing numbers have been awesome. All right. I'm not here to do running back slander or anything like that. We should be past it. But we do see quarterbacks as they get older not run as much, man. And I do know the injuries impacted Lamar last year. I do know he's cheaper than he has been in kind of that mid-tier of quarterbacks. But I just look at this Ravens offense, Pat, and I'm like, are we positive they're actually going to be their usual high-end self? Every new play caller is awesome this time of the year. We get it. The Glenn Doyle got Ben Johnson coffee in Chicago, so good job. He's going to be, amazing, I guess. But Mark Andrews is old as shit. He's look washed. We also have Zay Flowers, $140 million man, Zay Flowers. I like Zay Flowers, all right? I also like Rashad Bateman, which is an issue for me and my therapist to work out. Let's just call it what it is. It's not a great pass-catching group. We also have Derrick Henry getting up there, and it's an offensive line that let Tyler Linderbaum go over to the Raiders for God knows how much money. So I know they used their first-round pick on the Penn State dude. It is Lamar Jackson. They've generally been pretty good, but man, it's a lot of question marks for an offense where, again, we just need Lamar to put that Superman cape on because he's, for the 10th straight year, doesn't have all that much help.
I'm all aboard him. Oh, sorry, Pat. I'm all aboard him being able to put on that Superman cape. Absolutely. And the one thing I want to bring up on Josh Allen and the tush push, if you look back on all the tush pushes he's done, he was known to immediately take the snap and not go through the center, but that left guard who's now playing in the bayou. So I am a little bit worried about Josh Allen and how they run that tush push. Lamar, however, absolutely agree. The fact that he could potentially one day not use his legs as much does scare me, but I don't think this is the year. I think this Jesse Minter is going to come in and really invigorate this whole entire unit, and I'm all for a Lamar Jackson MVP campaign as they try to take over the AFC. So I'm bullish on Lamar this year, but I fully hear you about the Mark Andrews of the world getting up there in age. I just think it's the one.
So we put this to a vote. Is Josh Allen the number 1 quarterback?
Yes.
Yes. So Lamar's number 2 right now because we haven't talked about anyone else. So it's Allen, then Lamar. Again, you can reference all these rankings that we vote on down in the show notes. Drake May is up next, coming off a year where he ran a bunch, threw a bunch. Career year, really, for Drake May. It may never get better than this. In fact, what was it, Ian? Like Mahomes had his best year or two, isn't it?
It was year one, basically. I mean, it was his year one as a starter.
Yeah, his year, he wasn't eligible for Rookie of the Year in year 2 when he threw for the 5,000 yards and all the touchdowns. But sometimes this happens. You peak, and it's not that you're bad afterwards. It's just you never hit that same level again. It's not that this feels too high. It's just now we're getting into, so you have the upside of Josh Allen, and even losing the left guard, while it might hurt on the goal line, if he has fewer clean pockets, he might run more, which is really what we're looking for, which all trundles back to the point of why I don't love Jared Goff, that if I'm going to take a guy late or in these mid rounds at quarterback, just give me a quarterback who can run. You look at all the top 8 quarterbacks outside of Joe Burrow who can run, just chooses not to most of the time. He's like Jerry. He chooses not to run. That they're all running quarterbacks. I don't want some stiff back there because then they're going to need to throw 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns to keep up with the guys who run like 500 on the ground and score 5 touchdowns that way. So you have Drake May, who's in the realm of these guys. Whether or not he can break through and keep up with what he put up last year, that's remaining to be seen. They don't have quite as easy as in a schedule. He's going at pick number 44 at the high point, 66 at the low point, but he's been firmly drafted in this tier with Burrow and Jaden Daniels and all these other guys. Tony, do you like Drake May as like a guy you have to go get, or is he more of a, hey, if he falls to me, great pick, I'm not going out of my way to get him?
I think last year's Jaden Daniels fall from grace is what would scare me away from Drake May, because Drake May, we called them the schedule merchant patriots all season long, and Drake May was the beneficiary of that. He was electric. The deep ball that he threw was unbelievable, and he's adding A.J. Brown to that team. This could really take the next step. However, how much of that was due to the chuds that they were playing continuously during that season, and with this step up in difficulty, will that bring Drake's numbers back to normal? The stuff that we saw in the Super Bowl game and in the playoff run, is that an injury issue, or is that Drake finally facing good competition? I have no problem taking Drake as the third QB off the board. However, I'm not looking to build my whole team around Drake May as my QB1. I'd rather get the Joe Burrows of the world or wait even later.
So, Ian, that falls to you of when we think about this in tiers. Like, you and I would have Josh Allen 1. It feels like we both have Lamar in tier 2 by himself, and then there's a drop off to this tier. Am I reading that right?
I would put Drake and a couple other guys in the tier of Lamar.
Okay. You hate
And
Lamar.
I will say the one thing, the schedule is going to be tougher. I'm expecting the efficiency to go down because how are you going to lead the NFL in yards per attempt and completion rate again? But at the same time, I think after the Super Bowl run, which let's face it, wasn't great, faced some really tough defenses during that entire stretch. So not fully on the guy, but we wanted some high-end weapons. We got AJ freaking Brown, even Romeo Doubs now. Like that's an upgrade over what we were dealing with at certain points last year. And they threw some more resources at the offensive line. Year 2 in the Josh McDaniels system. The one thing I do fall back on, shout out to Fantasy Life. They have a cool stat called drop back rate over expected. The Patriots were actually, I think, top 10 in terms of what they were passing the ball over expected. They were just always blowing dudes out, so they ended up with the 3rd fewest pass attempts in the NFL. So even if we do see the yards per attempt drop off a bit, could be enough volume to kind of get them going. Like similar sentiment, Pat, to what you were talking about with Josh Allen. Like maybe he has to run around and scramble more. We can get that with Drake May. Like he is a bit of a wild child. There's when he came out of North Carolina, I comped him to Justin Herbert, but if you like shotgun Mountain Dew before every single game. So he obviously cleaned up the decision-making last year and stuff. But, if we get a more competitive, more of a 9-8 Patriots team, it actually could wind up leading a more fantasy-friendly game script.
And that's something I hadn't considered. And the offensive line should be better, but not great, which should help that out too. So that leads us to Joe Burrow, who's going next in the same vicinity as Drake May. Ian, back to you on this. Is this just wish casting with Burrow that, hey, if everything goes right, he could be amazing, but nothing ever goes right for Joe Burrow, except that one time, but that was it.
Except that one time. Here's my thing with Burrow. I did an FFPC draft, my guy Theo Greminger last week. Burrow went at the beginning of round 8. Dak Prescott went in the middle of round 12. I just don't see the big difference between these dudes. If anything, I think Dak has a better chance of falling to the end zone as a rusher, 3 to 5 times. So, it's 33-year-old Dak at this point. He doesn't take off the same way he used to, particularly after that, brutal 2020 ankle snap or whatever. But just there's too many archetypes like Burrow, man. There's Stafford. There's honestly the Jared Goffs of the world. Like, would we be that shocked if Goff just ends up throwing for more yards and touchdowns than Burrow? Look at the Vegas lines. They're pretty close for season long. I'm not saying we have to, base our entire philosophy around that. But I think if we're doing, because you said at the beginning, 4-point passing touchdowns, if we do give them the benefit of the doubt, 5 or 6 point passing touchdowns, that's when I'm more so in on Burrow. But yeah, man, I'm not really going on my way for this dude.
I think it does help. Like you said, 5-point passing touchdown, 6-point passing touchdown. Then you can bump up Goff and Stafford and Burrow and those types of guys who rely on that. That's not what we're talking about here, Tony.
No, we're not. And we have to, in fantasy, give props to the rushing quarterbacks, and Joe Burrow is not that guy. However, if you had only $5 to spend and you had to predict a dude to lead the league in passing, you're most likely going with Joe Burrow. So he's getting drafted this high and he comes in fourth because you believe that this is the year he finally plays a full slate with Jamar and with T. Higgins and with Chase Brown, and everything's going right for that Cincinnati offense that we've seen light the world on fire. I think his overall ADP is taken a bit higher because of how high a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins goes, and people want to create that stack. But while he wouldn't be my quarterback on my fantasy team if I had only one shot at this, I do see why Joe Burrow should be fourth on this list because of the potential he has just being a pocket passer. It's the clear line of demarcation of what you expect out of a fantasy player. And if you only want that pocket passer, you can't get one of the rushers, then Joe Burrow is the first one that I'm taking off that list.
But you can get rushers with like the next 4 picks if you want to. Like, why is Joe Burrow better than Jaden Daniels?
I got a lot to say about Jaden Daniels, but I will say Joe Burrow to me is better because of the absolute ability that this man could come away with MVP. He could have a Matthew Stafford type season should that offense stay healthy and should that offense be producing. I'm not the biggest Zach Taylor fan. I don't think he should have kept his job as the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, but this man is finally, has been in an offense that he knows the playbook backwards and forwards. And now, with all the units around him, and if everyone stays healthy, you're predicting that this guy could produce better, even with Jalen Hurts rushing, even with Jaden Daniels rushing, guys that could go out there and get injured. And, Joe Burrow is going to get injured as well. But I just think the safety is there, that this guy being just a pocket passer will put up enough numbers consistently where the rushes have sort of a lower floor that you're debating playing every week.
So, Ian, just to Tony's point about if he wins MVP and has a Stafford-like season, like Stafford was number 3 at QB last year, despite having that season.
Yeah, and Burrow, he plays through these injuries, and we just give him such a benefit of the doubt every single time. Like, he was pretty much dog water the first 5 weeks of 2023. Wasn't great coming back last year as well. And we say, well, he was injured. Same thing with your guy, Ricky Bullets, Pat. Unfortunately, he's going to be missing this season. But Pearsall would goose egg for like 3 straight weeks, and we say, he's playing hurt. You can't really blame him for that situation. So pull up Baker Mayfield's stats and Joe Burrow's stats over the last 3 years. You guys are going to be shocked at how close some they are. And guess what? We give Burrow the benefit of the doubt for being injured. We don't do it with Baker. So, Burrow's awesome. He deserves to be the first pocket, quarterback drafted. I get that. But should there be these, massive gaps in rounds between him and the Staffords and the Daks? That's where I disagree.
Fun fact about Baker Mayfield, he scored fewer points per game than Jacoby Brissett last year.
How about Burrow? Did he as well?
Yeah, Burrow is way down on this list. Burrow is how many? I can't even remember how many games. Burrow might not even be on this list because he didn't play enough. Burrow.
You telling me I got to move Jacoby Brissett higher on my rankings here? Where did I write him down? He's in the 20s somewhere.
So when we get there's like this weird mix. You got like Dak, Bo Nix, Herbert, Goff, Daniel Jones, Jackson Dart as this pocket, and then the next guys are like really Burrow, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Brissett, Baker, Justin Fields, Jordan Love are the next guys on that list in like 17 to 22. It was a weird year at quarterback. I think that's why people like Josh Allen so much. Like this guy's just number 1 or 2 every year. Just take him.
Yeah.
I get it. And there is a right spot for him once you start. I think around the mid-30s is fair. If he does fall to around 4, 100%, probably not going to happen though.
Yeah, well, especially in more casual leagues too. Like Tony, like if you're doing underdog drafts or you're playing in these high stakes leagues, people know what they're doing. And they're like, oh, there's value on quarterbacks. Like you start playing with 11 of your buddies. One guy in there's like, man, I can get Josh Allen in the first round. This sounds awesome.
It always happens. Every single year, it always happens, and that's why you call those guys a free entry fee. Thank you for the money. Thank you for the memories, and we'll be taking that and giving it to the actual champion. But again, people like to spend that because they know that it's going to produce as well. And so maybe my ranking on Joe Burrow is based on name value alone, because you guys both bring up very good points that there are guys after him that could outproduce him on a week-to-week based on their rushing ability. So maybe I'm just glitzed and glammed by the Super Bowl run that they once had, and that will never happen again. So maybe I am wrong on this, but I still think Joe Burrow at 4 just seems like the right person to put there. I don't know who else I would put higher than him.
Well, we can talk through who we can put higher, but you call the guys that draft Josh Allen in the first round dead money. I'd probably agree with you on the first round, but I do think that there is a strategy, Ian, that if you are someone who's watching this video and you know that there's going to be 5 or 6 of your league mates who are really into this and they're going to be scanning the waiver wire all the time, doing whatever, once you get to the second and third round, like Josh Allen's a good pick for someone who doesn't know exactly what's going on, because he's probably going to score the most points. That's all. You just look at the stats you gave about advance rate to the playoffs simply by having him. I get that you can mine equivalent value later, maybe, if you know what you're doing, and maximize your team elsewhere. That's going to win you a championship. But frankly, if you make the playoffs in fantasy football, you have a shot to win. I've seen the worst team make the playoffs in my league. We just run through 3 hot weeks in a row, pick Liddell Betts up off waivers, and all of a sudden he's scoring 2 touchdowns a game, and you got Josh Allen who's scoring 40 a game to go with it, and he can't be beat. And Josh Allen's one of those guys that if you have him, you kind of have a fighter's chance every week.
No, there's a lot of truth to that. Actually, my OG league with my dad and all of his work friends is a 10-man ESPN league. And I kind of do that strategy. I'll go ahead and take Josh Allen early because I feel more confident in being able to check off all my sleepers later in drafts. So good shout, Pat. And it would make sense. Like, look, ESPN, probably a more casual audience and stuff. And it also, I believe the base for that is 10-man leagues, because that's, again, how ancient some of this ESPN stuff is. Hey, no disrespect intended or anything like that. I'm in leagues of all shapes and sizes as well. But yeah, man, if you do feel confident that some of your league mates are going to be maybe not as sharp in the later rounds, go get yourself a superhero quarterback.
I've talked about Helix for years and will continue to, because it's one of those products I actually use every single day. In fact, there are 5 Helix mattresses in my house right now. Ours, the kids, the guest room, and every single one has been fantastic. They're comfortable, they've held up incredibly well, and getting a great night's sleep actually makes a huge difference when you're trying to keep up with work and kids and trying to golf as much as possible and everything else that you might want to do. What I really like is that Helix has over 20 different mattress models, so you're not just stuck with a one-size-fits-all bed. Whether you like to sleep hot or cold, or looking for something firmer, or you want a softer feel, there's an option that is built for you. Plus, every mattress comes with a 120-night sleep trial, a limited lifetime warranty, and the Happy with Helix guarantee, so you can buy with confidence. Head to helixsleep.com/Mayo and use code MAYO for 20% off during the early access Labor Day sale. That's helixsleep.com/Mayo. Make sure you enter my show name after checkout so they know that I sent you. All right, let's talk about something no one in endurance sports likes to admit. You can be training your ass off, cardio, stress, not recovering properly, and yeah, it can mess with your performance everywhere, because it all comes back to blood flow. Most guys jump straight to pills. That's just treating the symptom. The real key is nitric oxide. That's what controls circulation, endurance, and yeah, performance. That's why Joy Mode actually makes sense. It's a natural booster that supports nitric oxide production, not the fake pixie dust stuff. Just tear open a packet, mix it like an electrolyte drink, and you are good to go. Use it when you need it, or use it daily to raise your baseline. Think of it like training. One dose helps, consistency changes everything. If you want to support sexual performance the same way you support training and recovery, naturally and intelligently, Joy Mode has a deal for my listeners. Go to tryjoymode.com/Mayo or enter Mayo at checkout for 20% off. Joy Mode, the electrolyte packet for your dick. Jaden Daniels. Tony, sounds like you have things to say about Jaden Daniels.
I was amazed at his rookie season, what he was able to do. He looked like, I think I had in my personal QB rankings, not fantasy related, as the 5th best QB heading into last season. I was so excited to see the future of Jaden Daniels in that Cliff Kingsbury offense. Well, guess what? That is gone. And a lot of it has to do with the injuries that he suffered, both in the game against Green Bay and with the awkward arm injury that he had. But when you look at the numbers of him passing, Warren Sharp laid it all out really well. He's in the high 30s in EPA per dropback, EPA in a clean pocket, EPA under pressure. It's when he gets outside of the pocket and makes magic happen that he really excelled last year. But in order for him to succeed as a consistent player, you need to have that in-pocket awareness. And the fact that in 2 seasons, this man has 33 dropbacks from center total is insane to me. And I do believe they're going to try and do some things with Jaden Daniels that he is not used to. And that will take some time to grow into this season and make him a better quarterback. In the long run, it's a good thing. He needs to be more than just a shotgun, clap your hands and go. But I think there's going to be some growing pains in this particular season to make that happen. So when he's going this high in fantasy drafts and in ADP, I'm a little bit hesitant to press the pick button because while he could be magic, I am worried that I'd rather go with a more consistent guy like even a Jalen Hurts than a Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, Ian, going as high as 46. Again, that's on ESPN loves quarterbacks. And as low as 76 in the FFPC. I find it difficult. Like, what really is, besides watching them as players and evaluating their talent level, what's really the difference between Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts in fantasy, where Jalen Hurts has kind of always been better?
I mean, Hurts falls into the end zone more from the 1 yard line.
That's
we know
helpful.
that's going to be going well for him. It is very helpful. But Daniels, I think, actually has that 4,000 yard passing and 800 or 900 yard rushing upside. Hurts is like slow, man. You know,
Well,
I know he's always playing through knees.
He hurt his knee.
Like,
I stepped. My kids have these like, I don't know, things they put on a spinner and they fight them against each other. My son left his out.
Beyblades?
Blades. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I stepped on one like 2 weeks ago and twisted my knee. I can barely fucking walk. Like, I have to go to physio now because I stepped on a toy. That's how fucking old I am. And hey, Jalen Hurts, he's getting up there too.
I just want to be clear. You just compared your physical ability to Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, we're like the same size.
Okay.
Oh, Hurts.
Okay.
Hurts. Okay. Maybe this is a question someone can answer for me. Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson are 2 big guys, even height wise, and they get credited as being small guys, and I don't understand why.
yeah, that's a little strange. Couldn't you say, though, that the closest thing we have to Lamar Jackson is Jaden Daniels? That's where I'm at.
I was going to say the closest thing you have to Lamar Jackson is probably Pat Mayo in like physical ability, but that was before I hurt my knee.
I don't know, man. I just think Daniels, if we had to go through, if we're trying to do it's going around the fantasy industry. It's like upside. That's what you should be chasing. No fucking shit. Like, what else are we trying to do in fantasy football? I don't want a player with upside. Like, give me a break. But with Daniels, I just think if we run the 100 simulations and we take the top 5 quarterback seasons of everyone, I think Josh is 1. I think Lamar is 2. I think Daniels is probably 3. I would feel better if they could just finally freaking sign Stephon Diggs and quit pretending like Treylon Burks and Antonio Williams is a good rest of the wide receiver group. Again, it's David Blough, the former Lions backup quarterback who was the assistant quarterback coach last year, and then he somehow got Cliff Kingsbury's job. So good, shout out David, rising up the ranks. But the under center stuff is fair. He was a lot worse as a passer last year. That's concerning. I will say, though, we had 4 full starts because he was banged up. He had the elbow stuff. He left early and stuff. And the 4 full starts, even with all that passing stuff being true, no Terry McLaurin for a lot of it, to be fair, 18.9 fantasy points per game still. That was QB7. So the rushing, it is insane. Like, Jaden Daniels' worst season, if he's staying healthy enough, is like a low-end QB1. Burrow's worst season, he's probably like a QB2.
I hear you. The thing that scares me the most is exactly what you're saying. First off, I'm an Antonio Williams believer. I'm taking him absolutely everywhere. I do not want to see them get Stephon Diggs, and I don't think he fits what Adam Peters has put out into the universe and what they want in that locker room, but that's just me. Terry McLaurin is not getting any younger, and David Blough coming out and saying he wants to get Terry 10 targets a game, that's well and good if you're drafting Terry McLaurin. I don't know if that's good for Jaden Daniels. I do like Chigakonko. I do think that brings a lot more assets to this offense. But it just scares me, the lack of weapons on this team. And we talk about Josh Allen being a Superman. They're finally getting him some weapons. I'm a little bit worried that Jaden Daniels doesn't have anyone to throw that ball off to. And he could create magic, absolutely. But I'd be a little bit more worrisome than the other guys that we've mentioned and a few guys that we haven't. It's just the downside is too big for me.
If you want to get in on Antonio Williams, you can draft him late in drafts, maybe or maybe not. That doesn't pay off to you. What you need to do is hit the description, go to coolbet.com, grab your bonus, and you click under this tab. It's called the PME Exclusives tab, where you can get a boost on Antonio Williams to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at astronomical odds, because almost what Tony just said, they have no one else. Like, he could be such a stat merchant in this offense. And Ian, looking back 2 years, when Washington was rolling, when they didn't punt for 8 straight games or whatever the hell it was, and Jaden Daniels was taking over the world and winning everyone fantasy weeks, they had such an outlier year of third down percentage and fourth down percentage that maybe it regressed back too far the other way last year. But thinking what he could do in his rookie year and translating that forward, maybe he gets better. It just doesn't seem, as to what Tony said, that they don't have the offensive pieces to really make this work.
The argument against it, though, is they didn't really have the pieces to make it work in 2024 either, but they still kind of did. Their top targets, of course, Terry McLaurin had a 13 touchdown year. After that, old man Zach Ertz, Olamide Zaccheaus, Austin Eckler, Noah Brown, Diami Brown. Like, that's a freaking nightmare wide receiver room going on there, but because they had Terry, it made it work. So 2 years older, I get it. Going back to college, you watch some of the hits Jaden Daniels takes, and it is, reasonable to say he's probably a little more injury prone than the other guys out there. But again, if we are trying to say in this group of guys, like, who do I want to really be going after heavy, I do think his, upside is going to be greater than the other dudes. But all this talk, again, why do we have several, I think, realistic issues for all these quarterbacks we're talking about. That's why I just want to wait, Pat.
So is Jalen Hurts a part of this tier to you then, Ian?
Yeah. Because last year the tush push became slightly less effective, but they didn't run it as much because the offense wasn't as good. They actually ran it more often from the 1 yard line than they had in previous years. It was like 9 out of 10 times they were there. The difference was they were usually at the top of the league in the amount of times they're at the 1 yard line. Last year they were tied for 18. So, do I think it's any quarterback that wins the Super Bowl, all of a sudden we got to have these top 5 real life arguments. And I don't think Hurts is in the top 5, but he's still pretty damn good, man. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, even Dallas Goedert. These guys have put up big season numbers, and they couldn't have done it without Hurts throwing them the football. So, maybe he did step on a Beyblade last year, and that's why his scrambling was a little bit down and stuff. And he's tough enough to play through the injuries. I don't know that Hurts still has that like 24, 25 point fantasy upside, but I also would be surprised if he's going to be finishing that bad. And that was the thing last year. Like, the vibes were so bad in Philly, and it was such a boring offense to watch. I mean, Hurts still finished, I think, QB7. AJ Brown was still wide receiver 11. So, wasn't the usual sky high stuff we're used to seeing, but for your worst case season, man, still pretty good.
Hurts for you, Tony? Yes or no?
I have been a Hurts believer for a long time. He has saved many of my fantasy teams, and it's like that, that good friend that probably isn't the best person in your friend group, probably doesn't return on your texts all the time, probably isn't the one that you should go to with big questions about morality, but you still, the friend you just can't give up. That's Jalen Hurts to me, man. I love him to death. I've been a fan of his since Alabama, what he's gone through in college, what he's gone through in Philly, and coming back to win the Super Bowl. He is such an honestly good dude that I am rooting for him. I am tearing up for him because I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the little baby boy all grown up. And he is an absolute hulk of a human that I do believe was injured a bit last year, but also is saving himself for marriage and the playoffs when it comes to running the football. So I believe that's going to hurt him fantasy wise, but I can't give him up, man. I can't give him up. And if that's my blind eye, I got a couple of guys on this list that I have a bias towards. Jalen Hurts is one of them. And if I had to choose between the two, Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts, I guarantee you could make a bunch of arguments for Jaden Daniels. I'm going to be taking Jalen Hurts a couple of picks later, and I got no problem doing that.
Would you wait a little bit longer and take Caleb Williams instead?
Well, that's what we wanted to talk about when the next tier break was, boys. And Caleb Williams belongs in this tier because I think Caleb Williams, as much as I hate him, I hate the Chicago Bears. I wish the Chicago Bears would be the 32nd team. We'd throw them off. We'd add another team in like Sacramento or something. The Bears stink. However, Caleb Williams is awesome. And for the next 10 years of my life, I'm going to be cursing that man's name. He is going to have a huge season this year with everything that's going on in this offense, just because you saw the growth from weeks 1 through 4 last year when they were still trying to figure stuff out. You can go through the tape how Caleb Williams was sort of stuck on the first read and didn't know where the second and third read was. But now that we're learning this offense and everyone on the team is learning this offense, Luther Bird and Colson Loveland another year older, I think Caleb Williams has the chance to have a huge season, and he does run the ball as well. So I would be taking Caleb Williams over Jalen Hurts and over Jaden Daniels, but he absolutely belongs in this tier.
Darnell Wright agrees to a 4-year extension with the Bears on the offensive line too, Ian.
That helps. And we're also hearing that Caleb's faster than last year, which is crazy because he had 4 of the top 5 fastest times of any quarterback. Shout out to Bo Nix for also getting in that conversation. So, no, I think Caleb Williams is honestly a dark horse MVP candidate. We act like remember the whole Josh Allen thing when he couldn't complete 60% of his passes, and we were going back to like JV stats to also prove that. Like Caleb was at 70 at USC, man. You look at how he was playing last year, he'd be avoiding 2 sacks, and he led the league in throwaways, I believe. He was pretty high up there. He was holding the ball more than anyone. He was actually pushing the ball downfield. So, yes, we need him to hit his layups, but to just pretend like one of the most, again, physically and naturally, I would say, gifted quarterbacks in the league, can't figure that out. With someone like Ben Johnson, who we love, with the weapons that Tony brought up, Caleb Williams for me, I got him QB8, but Pat, I do believe in one Justin Herbert just a little bit more.
Okay, what is it about Justin Herbert? Because a lot of his fantasy value last year was derived by him running, weirdly enough. People don't see him as a rusher. I am just worried that Mike McDaniel's offense, that all of a sudden, and although Rashawn Slater, as we're recording this, left practice today, apparently he's going to be okay. So Chargers curse on the way. It's coming. But with their weapons, if the offensive line is good, I just don't think he's going to have to run as much. He might be able to do more through the air, obviously. But I don't know. I know that you're just all in on the Chargers this year, but I don't. This feels like where he's going, which is pick number, let's see here, Herbie. Herbie is QB8, as low as 100, as high as 77. Now, weirdly enough, the 100 is on ESPN, and the higher stakes leagues are drafting Justin Herbert. So maybe you have this direct influence in you being such a sharp in these high stakes leagues like the NFFC. But I just see him as another run-of-the-mill guy in here versus maybe the first 7 guys we talked about. I don't know if he's a part of the tier that we just talked about, the next tier, but really, what's the difference between Justin Herbert and Brock Purdy fantasy-wise?
Purdy's
good.
Purdy's the man.
Purdy's
I know
good
everyone
at
calls him system QB.
Very good at
I
fantasy.
hear you. Dude, and remember the 2023 year, Debo and Trent Williams were out for 3 games, and the 49ers sputtered a little bit, and we're like, oh, look, Purdy can't do it without anyone. And then his whole team died around him the last 2 years. And guess what? He kept on keeping on. So credit to Purdy, but he doesn't have a 5,000-yard season on his resume like Justin Herbert. Herbert has multiple years, man, where he's averaged north of 22 fantasy points per game. He just did it when Mahomes and Lamar and Allen were just going even more bonkers that he didn't actually get that overall QB1 crown. I just go back to the fact that Mike McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan, speaking of Shanahan, all right, these guys have consistently enabled some of the best, most efficient passing attacks in the league with freaking losers, man, other than Brock Purdy. Okay, Purdy's cool, but Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, freaking Tua, man, the most physically limited quarterbacks you could ask for that can't even move. And now we got 6'5" Justin Herbert, who can run for 400 yards, who can throw the football over the mountains. I just think that, again, Justin Herbert and his Chargers offense, yes, I am all in on him. So, yeah, give me Justin Herbert over Brock Purdy. Come on now.
No, sure, over Brock Purdy, but are you taking him over Caleb Williams?
Yeah, one spot.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
So close. Do you have a great reason for Caleb over Justin? I mean, I don't necessarily disagree a ton. I'm not going to call you crazy, but I'm not calling you Superman either.
Well, I think it's the overall upside point that we talked about. That if you told me will Justin Herbert ever be QB1 in fantasy? I would say the answer is no. I can see a path for Caleb Williams. That would be my choice of why I'd go Williams over Herbert here. Now, does that mean Herbert?
Why?
Well, why? I think it's going to be the running. It's going to be, I don't think Herbert's going to run as much because he just simply will not have to. And I can see that becoming a bigger part of Caleb Williams' game.
We'll see. They were about the same guy running the ball. I agree Caleb's a little more lethal, but Herbert can move too. He just had remember he had the broken hand. He was stiff-arming dudes with it last year?
He can, but so much of his running last year is because he had to run because they had no one to throw to and no offensive line.
Yeah, I don't think Caleb's going to be this 900-yard rusher either. They're both in the 400, 500-yard range. And I think for this reason, again, if you prefer Caleb over Justin, that's fine. But yeah, I'll wait on Joe freaking Burrow. Let's get back to slandering Joe Burrow here because we can get guys like Herbert and Caleb this much later.
Okay, so let's do some rankings then. Actually, you weigh in on Justin Herbert here, Tony. You're out there. You're in LA. He's got the vibes.
Yeah, and I think the electrical substation in San Francisco is getting too much to blame because the Chargers get injured just as much, and I don't know what's next to their practice field, but it's not going too well. What scares me about Herbert is the fact that this team seems to be cursed, and they have the highest amount of rest disadvantage in the NFL this year. 24 days more rest to their opponents on their schedule than the Chargers. It's the highest amount of rest disadvantage since, I believe, 2013, according to Warren Sharp. And for a team that gets injured all the time, and for Justin Herbert, a guy that we've seen throw his body on the line. That guy is an absolute gamer. He just learned to slide like 2 seasons ago. I worry that if I take Justin Herbert, as much as I want them to succeed and as much as I believe that McDaniels can make that offense sing, I worry that rest disadvantage and the tradition of the Chargers will lead to some zeros on your board. So that's why I'd be taking a Caleb Williams over him. But I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see the Chargers reach their heights.
Well, so would a lot of people with all these futures on Chargers Super Bowls, which I can tell you, after following football for my entire life, has never cashed. So that's always fun.
It's in LA this year, I think, right? LA?
Yeah.
LA, all LA Super Bowl? I would hate it. I mean, that's the freaking lamest thing ever. I'm tired. I'm so tired of California, man. This is the Dodgers, too. Like, just piss off.
So let's rank some of these guys. Ian, your vote first. Tony, your vote second. I'll be a tie break here. Drake May or Lamar Jackson?
Lamar.
Okay. Joe Burrow or Drake May?
Burrow.
Really?
Oh, I'm going to go with Drake May.
Yeah, I'm going to take Drake May too. So we'll keep Drake May there. Jaden Daniels or Drake May, Ian?
Jaden.
Oh, no chance. I don't even think Jaden Daniels should be mentioned. I'm going with Drake May.
All right. Jaden Daniels. I'm going to take Drake May as well. Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow, Ian?
Jaden. I got Jaden QB3.
Wow. I'm going to go with Joe Burrow.
I'm going to take Jaden Daniels in this spot. Bump down Joe Burrow. Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels?
Daniels.
I think I'm low on Daniels. I'm going to take Hurts.
I'm going to take Daniels. So, Ian, do you go? So you go Burrow over Hurts. Do you go Hurts over Burrow, Tony?
Do I go Hurts over Burrow? No, I'm going with Joey B.
All right, I'll go with Burrow as well in that spot. Caleb Williams or Joe Burrow?
Burrow.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Caleb Williams or Jalen Hurts?
Hurts.
I'm going with baby Caleb.
After that whole spiel?
Yeah, after that whole spiel, I'm terrified. I wake up every morning scared of the Chicago Bears because Caleb Williams is on that team. I think Caleb's going to have an excellent year, and I hate it. I hate every second of it.
You know what? Screw it. I'll go with Caleb Williams here. So we'll put Caleb Williams in that spot. Joe Burrow, Ian, or Justin Herbert?
Burrow.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, Caleb Williams or Justin Herbert?
Herbie.
Yeah, you know where I am.
All right. So Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert?
Hurts.
It's funny that this is how it ended up because Hurts ends at you both like Herbert more than others, but not at the same time. And then Hurts just ends up where he's at. So the rankings right now, unless we want to add someone to this tier, is tier 1, Josh Allen. Tier 2, Lamar, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, Caleb Williams, Jalen Hurts, and Justin Herbert. Is there another name that deserves to be a part of that tier?
Tell him, Tony.
You think so, Ian? Who's the name?
T-Law.
Oh, my God.
Is that your guy, Jared? T-Law?
Big Trevor Lawrence guy. Yeah.
He got his hair cut. What if we
Let's
have
go, Jared.
What if we have the Samson effect here?
This is going to be a tough one to figure out, Pat. I'm sorry ahead of time for going through this rankings facade because I do not have T-Law anywhere near the top of these rankings. I understand the end of the season for him was unbelievable. I think he was 7th in EPA per dropback. He had great fantasy numbers during those last few weeks. Everyone's talking about Parker Washington's the next Calvin friggin' Johnson. I just don't see it when it comes to the other guys that are still here, like the Dak Prescotts of the world, who I believe is just more reliable as a passer. And I have some guys that I'm banking on upside that we haven't even mentioned yet that I would rather throw my lot in rather than waiting for Trevor Lawrence. Think about it this way. We've gone through 8 quarterbacks, and if we're now going for QB9 off the board in a 10-team league, a 12-team league, you've successfully waited out the league for your quarterback. So this guy needs to succeed. And so do you want to throw your cast line and fish out Trevor Lawrence, or do you want to go for a guy that might come a little bit later that I think could be a potential top 5 finisher? I just don't see it myself with the second year in a row in Trevor Lawrence.
Top 5 points per game last year. Here would be my pushback on Lawrence, Ian, is that you can probably pick him up off the waiver wire after week 8 because he goes Cleveland, Denver, New England, Cincinnati, Philly, Houston, bye week.
Wow. I'm not usually a big, trying to predict the schedules in the preseason type of guy, but that is a rough start, man. So,
but coming off of week 9, Tennessee, Giants, Tennessee, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Houston, not good. Dallas, Washington. That's good.
Let's cook. Look, I don't think he's going to run for 9 touchdowns again, but it's kind of cool that apparently is at his range of outcomes. The Jaguars, Liam Cohen just kind of talked about it too. He's like, the Bears get all this hype. We're happy they do. We don't need the hype and everything. But it's a very, very similar, I think, situation. It's a partnership between a very talented former number 1 overall pick quarterback with one of the brightest offensive minds in the league. So, yes, I do prefer Ben and Caleb slightly over Cohen and Trevor. But, Trevor put up numbers that Caleb couldn't last year. And the schedule was very nice from the second half. But he did have one big test in Denver. And, man, that he passes. So, Parker Washington, allegedly BTJ in the best shape of his life. What can go wrong? Jacoby Myers, your guy, Pat. We got the glue guy in the locker room. Jacoby Myers unlocked Trevor Lawrence, dude. So there's a lot of places to go with the football. Also, like the Bears, the Jaguars defense, had so many takeaways last year. I think that's going to regress. We can maybe get some more back and forth games. Honestly, I would have it, and we're building this together, so that's cool. But I cut off my tier after Hurts, and then I just think Herbert, Caleb, and T-Law are these guys who can all throw for 4,000 plus yards. They can run for 400, 500 yards, and they're in situations where we really like the play caller, quarterback, and the offense as a whole.
It's a very good case. Like I said, pick him up off the waiver wire on his bye week and get him for week 9 the rest of the season because he's got. And maybe that offense, as you mentioned, in that Denver game, it really did show something that he can just step up, you Surtain, be damned, just factor in the rest of the field, put up some fantasy points. The guy that I was going to throw in here was Bo Nix, the guy who was on the other side of the field here, as he just kind of came out and said that he's still going to be running just as much. He also was, number 6 in fantasy points per game last year? Yeah. No, he was even, where was it? Bo Nix. He was 8th in fantasy points per game, just behind Dak Prescott. But I don't know. Nix is, I don't want to say free, but he's going well after Trevor Lawrence, and you're like within a point a game.
I'm all aboard the Bo Nix hype train, especially adding Jalen Waddle to that mix, the best wide receiver Nix has ever played with in his since he's picked up a football. Like, I'm excited for Jalen Waddle to be in that offense and what they can create around it. And Nix attempted the most passes in the league last year, and that's for a 15-win team. Like, the amount of weight that they put on this kid's shoulders, can he be the one to succeed? What does scare me is it's happened in a bunch of different rankings, a bunch of different teams, a bunch of different players. Tucker Kraft is one of them when we're talking about tight ends. We used to have season-ending injuries that crept into the next season. Bo Nix injured this leg a week before the season was over, and suddenly we're going to expect him week 1 to be like, hey, he's okay. Send him back out there. The Daniel Joneses of the world, too, like, what medical advancements have we made where these guys have no after effects the next season after these devastating injuries? Or is Bo Nix going to be the one that could take a step back and get a little bit of time to get rolling? But again, I'd love for it to happen. The statistics are there and the improvement in the offense is there, but I still worry that Bo Nix's leg is not 100%.
Bo Nix, Ian, or Jackson Dart?
I'm going Dart.
Tony?
Finally, we agree on something, my friend, because Jackson Dart is the one guy I'd look at putting in that tier with the T-Laws of the world. I think Jackson Dart is set for a huge season this year. You want to talk about how Jaden Daniels could be the next Lamar Jackson. Jackson Dart is Josh Allen, folks. And this kid played 12 games. He finished top 8. I believe it was top 8 in no, I'm so sorry. He played in 12 games. He finished top 12 in scoring in 8 of those games. He was top 4 in scoring in 4 of those games. And now he added Isaiah Likely, a healthy Malik Neighbors. receivers, a head coach that knows what he's doing. I think Jackson Dart has a chance to have a huge, huge season as long as he stays healthy, because he likes to put his body on the line out there as well. But if Scadaboo's not going to be at full health and they need a goal line running back, that is Jackson Dart and what they can do from that backfield. I think Dart has a chance to put up some huge numbers. And if you're waiting for a quarterback, I'm not taking Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to wait even longer and take Jackson Dart. But that's just me.
So
Who's his play caller?
Jackson Dart going quarterback 11, Ian. He's going 64th on ESPN, but 100.
I asked the question, Pat. Who's Jackson Dart's play caller?
Who is Jackson Dart's play caller?
Tell me, Tony.
Oh, God. I'm missing this one. Who is it?
Matt Nagy. That's the problem. And guess who else is on that staff? Brian Callahan and Greg Roman. That's the problem. That's the issue with Jackson Dart. And yeah, I hope Neighbors is okay. But my God, could we not have gotten a second wide receiver? Like, Pat, my God, I come to you hat in hand. Like, I was wrong about Darius Slayton last year. Malachi Fields and Darnell Mooney, like that's the competition we brought in. So I think Dart is a good borderline QB1, but if we're sitting here in week 6 and the Giants are 1-5 with a bottom 5 offense and we're all just screaming at Matt Nagy every day, I'm not going to be surprised.
They do benefit from having the Patriots schedule from last year, in fairness to them.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, they have the super easy cakewalk schedule. So it could be okay. Would you guys, Ian, would you draft Dart or Dak Prescott?
Dak.
I think I'd go Dak too, Tony.
Yeah, I do have Dak higher. Dak is a guy that I think he's 8th on my total list, or I guess 9th behind Herbert on my total list. I think Dak in that Dallas offense is set for a huge, huge number. And talk about consistency. I think Dak is arguably the most consistent pocket passer of the bunch behind that Dallas offensive line. So yes, long answer, but I'd take Dak.
Buying a car is a big deal, and the last thing you want to do is spend endless hours clicking through filters only to come up empty. That's why I like Car Gurus. You can actually describe what you're looking for in your own words. Say you want something that's reliable, good on gas, with low mileage, and under 20 grand. Just type that in, and Guru instantly shows you real available listings that match what you need. And once you've found a few options, Car Gurus makes it easy to compare them side by side. With more than 4 million listings, Car Gurus has the biggest selection of cars, so it's easier than ever to find the right car and the right deal for you. They also offer more transparent pricing, letting you see when dealer fees are included so you can compare listings with greater confidence. It's no wonder Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site according to SimilarWeb's estimated traffic data. Huh? Buy or sell your car today at cargurus.com. That's CARGURUS.com. Summer's almost over, and I'm looking into next year, trying to figure out what block of the schedule can I take a vacation, and then whether or not I can actually afford it. That's why I like having everything organized ahead of time. When I know exactly where my money's going, I can book a trip, enjoy the winter, enjoy the summer, just not stress about my finances afterwards. Monarch is the personal finance app that tracks everything: accounts, investments, saving goals, and most importantly, spending. Or at least for me, it's the spending. Get your first year of Monarch Core half off, just $50 with promo code PATMAYO. That's me. What I like most about Monarch is the monitoring it does for me. The AI weekly recap flags spending spikes before they become habits, and the cash flow view makes it really easy to see where my money's actually going each month. It's nowhere good, I'll tell you that. It's basically like having a financial advisor in your pocket, which I appreciate because my old financial advisor, very expensive and not very good. Use code PATMAYO at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off, just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code PATMAYO. Yeah, so after Herbert, that drops us into this Lawrence, Dak, Dart, Bo Nix tier, which we just kind of talked through. So those are your top 12 quarterbacks, unless someone wants...
Where's your guy Purdy? You were just hyping up Purdy.
I have Purdy. Purdy's next on this list. We can start...
All right.
Because so this is for redraft. Like, do you guys ever draft a backup quarterback in a one quarterback league? Because I don't.
I do.
Not really.
I do. I'm sorry. I do. I mean, if you're getting a Josh Allen, no. But if you're trying to wait a little bit and get one of these guys 8 through 12, I do, because you're essentially making 2 bets on the same player and one of them's going to work out. I understand you can only start one in a redraft league and you can get a Tyler Shuck during the bye week to try and fill it in there, but I'm always down. If I could get a Dart and a Jordan Love, a Dart and a Purdy, then I'm going to go for it. But that's just me.
It's not a bad idea, but it almost kind of harkens back to what's the format that you're playing. I feel like you can always pick one of those guys up off the waiver wire for the week that you need it, or if your guy gets hurt, that you don't need to waste the roster space. You're better off having a handcuff running back who can turn into a starter. And even if you do need a quarterback in the future, you can just simply use that asset to trade for a better quarterback down the line. But like we said with the 6 touchdown passes and the 5 touchdown passes, Ian, if we're in a 2 quarterback league or a super flex league, I think guys like you mentioned Goff earlier, that level of quarterback gains a lot of prestige and something that you need to start actively drafting versus a 1 quarterback league where, listen, when we were just talking about quarterbacks outside the top 12, you mentioned about Brock Purdy, not Jared Goff. That means he's not starting on any teams in a 12-team league.
Yeah, I will say if I get to that point where Purdy or Goff is my QB1, I'll throw another dart at someone like Kyler Murray to try to get that extra little upside there. So Baker Mayfield is hanging out there. I know some, Tyler Shuck fans. What's interesting is that Kyler Murray and Malik Willis, for the first time in a while, we actually have true late round, if not, again, undrafted quarterbacks who have that dual threat upside. Fun stat, guys. Last 10 years, 28 quarterbacks have at least 100 rush attempts. 26 of them, top 12 numbers on a per game basis. I'm not even doing the annoying alleged fancy expert thing where I throw totals out to meet my argument. Per game, 93% hit rate. And it's even should be higher. 2018, Lamar Jackson was like more of a wildcat guy that skewed his numbers. And then Cam Newton in 2020 didn't hit, but he was also the only guy that was 30 plus years old. So if Malik Willis is healthy, now what happened to Justin Fields last year? He would have done it, but he sucked so bad he got benched. All right. So I understand that's possible for Kyler, and never say never with Malik Willis too. But man, especially only 4-point passing touchdown, like it's just really tough when you start adding up these fantasy points for these dual threat dudes to bust.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty simple equation here. If you don't get one of the elite guys, even the top 12 guys that we just mentioned, you should draft Kyler, Tyler Shuck, Malik Willis. One of those 3 guys, and you should be good. One of those guys is going to be a top 10 quarterback.
Baker, I put Baker in that argument too. You can do Boomer sooner with Kyler and Baker.
Baker's getting too old, pal. He's not running as much anymore. Too banged up.
It's not that old.
I do.
30.
I do have to mention 2 things here. We're talking about all these quarterbacks. We're mentioning Kyler Murray and Jared Goff. Talking about Matt Nagy earlier, you know who lost Matt Nagy is Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Where is Pat Mahomes on our rankings here? I understand the rushing ability crept those numbers up than they were usually, and he might not rush anymore because he's coming off of that injury. But if we're to believe that this team is fully healthy again and Eric Bieniemy's back and they're throwing explosive plays to Xavier Worthy, who has another shoulder injury, let's assume it's all going to work out injury-wise. Doesn't Pat Mahomes deserve to be mentioned?
We haven't even mentioned Matt Stafford yet. I'd rather have Matt Stafford than Mahomes right now. I think that after the Knicks part, it would be like Stafford, Purdy, Mahomes is probably where I would go.
I have Mahomes right in that mix. I got him QB 13. It's funny, Tony. I was thinking that exact same thing. I was like, we haven't even mentioned Patrick Mahomes, which is crazy. Just from the standpoint of the best quarterback of this generation of the NFL. He's as cheap as ever. I mean, it's worth throwing a dart there. The issue is it's been 3 straight years where he has been exactly that, more of a borderline QB1. How did he get going last year? It was the unforeseen, rushing heights. Like his passing fantasy points per game last year were exactly the same as what we had the 2 years before. Could he get back to throwing for 5,000 yards just because Eric Bieniemy is there? I don't really think so, man. How did they go this entire offseason and only add future Hall of Famer Cyrus Allen? Like we couldn't get anything else going there. So Rashee Rice is being eased back into action. It turns out rehabbing your knee while in prison isn't exactly something that's ideal to play professional football. Where the injury apparently isn't bad. It's just Kelsey's old as shit too. Like,
yes,
Kenneth Walker. That's it. I like Kenneth Walker, but if we had to sit here and rank every team's wide receiver and tight end room, like the Chiefs are going to be way closer to 32 than even 16.
Here's a fun.
No, I fully agree.
Did you know that Geno Smith is being drafted after both Deshaun Watson and Shadur Sanders?
That's terrible.
That doesn't seem right, does it?
Yeah, that's weird.
No, because
I mean,
there are some Jets pass catchers that I am definitely drafting in the late
Oh,
rounds
let me
on
get,
my teams.
let me guess. You said pass catcher, so AD Mitchell doesn't really qualify for that because he can't catch. He's a very fantastic. Maybe his separation score. Maybe that's because he can't catch, and people are like, "Why don't we leave this guy open?"
defensive strategy. Hey, I did get to talk to Jake's guy at the Athletic, Zach Jackson, today, and he basically was saying he thinks it's going to be Shador 17 games. He does not see how they can actually be trotting Deshaun Watson out there. So again, no, for the love of God, please do not go anywhere near these guys in your 12-team league. But for Superflex, like, it is useful to have that kind of third quarterback in the very later rounds. So I would go with Shador over, oh my God, over Deshaun at that case. With Geno, Pat, him and Jacoby, it's just the same thing. Like, when these teams are 1-7 and just horrible, what's going to stop them from putting Kate Klubnik or Carson Beck in the game?
Then you can find out then you're going to find someone else to pick up off the waiver. Like Jacoby Brissett was a good fantasy quarterback last year. And Arizona's defense, not very good. They still have all these playmakers. They just want to lose every game 45-30. Sign me up for that with Jacoby Brissett as my fantasy quarterback.
No, I'm 100% in there, especially if you're getting one of those huge pass catchers that Arizona has and you want to pair him later. But I do want to mention one more name. I've come on here as the Green Bay fan. And when we look at advanced statistics, Jordan Love with the deep ball throwing, with the EPA and a clean pocket, everything that they can do. And now that they have a set 3 wide receivers with Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, and Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft coming off of the injury, already off the PUP list, an offensive line that should be revamped and better. Josh Jacobs hopefully playing for the full season, should off the field stuff not take him out. Marshawn Lloyd finally, knock on wood, healthy. Is Jordan Love have a chance to creep into that top 12? The rushing ability not there, but talk about a bad defense. These teams will consistently score in the high 20s and 30s. Could Jordan Love throw some MVP type numbers up there?
I think he's a better real life quarterback than a fantasy quarterback. Like, I'd rather have Goff.
He was good in 2023, and he's had these injuries that have kind of prevented him from getting up. You know, is that Brazilian slip and slide perf in week 1, 2024, and then kind of had the concussion going on last year. So Jordan Love, no, I mean, Tony said it. You look at like the EPA and some of these, again, advanced numbers, and they all tell you he's awesome. I think the public sentiment turns on Love because he doesn't throw many picks, but the ones he does are kind of horrible. We had that, one play against the Panthers where it's 4th down. He throws it right to the dude in the end zone. I honestly think he gets like overly and unfairly criticized for that one. But Jordan Love just has a tendency. He does that. I mean, it works sometimes, but that dumbass like fadeaway throw he always does. Like when it goes bad for Jordan Love, it just looks really bad. So I think that's why people underrate him. But no, I hear you, man. I think he deserves to be in that late round conversation as well. That's about where the only other guy I want to mention is, I mean, Pat, like Sam Darnold's good at football. We have to admit that.
Yeah, I would rather have Jacoby Brissett as my week 1 starting fantasy quarterback.
But we keep talking about this. It's like, oh, Jadarian Price, George Halani, and Emmanuel Wilson. Like, why don't they throw the ball more? Feed JSN. You just signed Rashid Shaheed. Cooper Kupp still has a pulse, I guess, at this point. So the only issue with Darnold is he just stopped running last year. He used to be fairly actually agile. I still remember that. Oh my God. He was playing the Broncos, and it was Jets Broncos
Thursday night football. I remember the exact game. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in that game, I feel like.
One from like 50 yards, dude. So like Darnold could scoot back in the day. I don't think that day is in 2026, but last 2 years, the only 2 quarterbacks to throw for 4,000 yards in each season are Jared Goff and Sam Darnold. That's such the sad state that we're in, in the passing part of the National Football League. But again, more so super flex, but it is, man. If you can get two of those top 12, 14 guys kind of around where Bo Nix is, and then tack on like a Sam Darnold or a Tyler Shuck, even a CJ Stroud at the end, man, like that would kind of be my super flex strategy.
Yeah, I think the Tyler Shuck should go way higher than this. Like if you put me in a situation where like on the board was, I guess it wouldn't be because these guys are going at different ADPs, hence ADP, 4for4.com, check it out. But Patrick Mahomes or Tyler Shuck, I think Tyler Shuck outscores him this year.
Wow.
Oh my God! Somebody clip that. Who's editing in the background? Will somebody please clip that one? That's not, I mean, I like Tyler Shuck. I was wrong about him coming out of the draft. I thought he had no business going where he was drafted. He played for 17 different colleges. Was there for like longer than Van Wilder. I did not think he was an NFL quarterback. However, last year he played electric at the end of the season. A little bit of a schedule merchant with the defenses he was facing, but that team now with the 2 wide receivers on the end, a couple of players on the offensive line to bolster that thing, bringing in ETN to help Kamara out in the backfield. I think this offense and a play caller that I really have a lot of trust in. I think this offense can do some things. And but if you're going to go Tyler Shuck or Pat Mahomes, that's you're a braver man than I.
He's a schedule merchant. Fortunately, he still plays in the NFC South.
Yeah.
So that's very helpful towards the end of the year. I'm just thinking about the rushing upside here is that Shuck will just call his own number, Ian. And I don't think that Mahomes is coming off a wonky knee. I just don't see it.
Look at the knee. It's just wonky, man. So I know it just.
I get it doesn't sound
Shuck
right.
Shuck
could get benched. Like, remember when you were making the case with Justin Fields to me last year, and I was like, what happens when Justin Fields sucks and gets benched? And you guys were like, wow, that could never happen. They paid him money. Now, Shuck could get benched if he sucks through 5 weeks of the season. Sure, they'll bring in Spencer Rattler again. Perfect news. But if he plays all 17 games of these guys, like we mentioned them, Kyler Murray, Malik Willis, and Tyler Shuck, one of those 3 guys is going to be a top 10 quarterback just because of running.
I don't think Shuck runs that much to do it. He's capable enough, but he's like a 300, 400-yard guy max, I think. I don't think he's touching the Kyler and Malik. Out of these guys, Kyler would be my bet. He's got he's got all the talent in the world. Like if we look at the reclamation projects over the years, like Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, I think Kyler is more naturally talented than all those dudes. And KOC has figured out with literally everyone except JJ McCarthy. So if we can just all band together and agree JJ McCarthy fucking is horrible, then we should be able to get behind Kyler Murray. All right. I know it hasn't been the most beautiful, of the past year or two from Kyler, but that is someone we've seen, average well north of 20 fantasy points per game. He can throw for 4K. He can run for 600. And that's a good offense, man. Jettas, Jordan Addison, they added Jawan Jennings. Maybe Hawkinson's got a little bit left. Like, I can talk myself into Kyler Murray more than these other guys. And he's free. If Kyler Murray was going QB 11, like, again, Justin Fields, that was bad. I deserve to be mocked for it. That was a bad draft process last year because he wasn't even this cheap. Kyler Murray is free at the end of drafts. Like, that's the sort of guy you should be throwing a late round dart on because if he hits, he's going to finish like top 6. If Tyler Shuck hits QB 11,
nah, I think it could be. It depends on how often he calls his own number near the goal line, I think. And that was a big part of it last year. Is that it's like, oh, daylight, I'm gone. So, Shuck.
I do have to ask, Pat, do you know the definition of insanity?
I don't know. Please tell me. Never heard this before.
It's trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Justin Fields was a terrible pick last season. Kyler Murray is Justin Fields of 2026. KOC could prove me wrong. He's an excellent head coach, an excellent play caller, has unlocked the skeleton key of every QB that he has had. I don't think Kyler Murray, if you believe Kyler Murray is going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback, I will book those bets personally. I think there's no chance that Kyler Murray can produce in this offense based on the numbers he's had in Arizona, the fact that he struggles so much to throw the deep ball, to throw outside the numbers. I understand the weapons there, the offensive line there could help him out a lot. I struggle to see a running game out of this team. And I also don't believe Kyler Murray is healthy enough to use his legs as much as he did in his youth. I do not believe that Kyler Murray will be the guy to save your fantasy team if you get that late to pick a quarterback. And I just think he is this year's Justin Fields.
You know what's kind of wild, like the public sentiment around? Who do you think won more games last year, Pat, Jacoby or Kyler?
Did either of them win a game?
Kyler won too, and we had that batshit crazy
did.
Titans game, which lost my freaking survivor.
I
pool
lost me a lot
because
of money. It was
Oh my
bad
God,
news.
dude! The cornerback, Cam Ward threw the game-losing pick, and you fumble it. That was Tyler Lockett's only touchdown on the Titans was recovering that freaking fumble. So they went to war with the Seahawks. They lost to the Niners by 1. The offense statistically was better with Kyler because everything he can do is a rusher. Jacoby was awesome at being down 3 touchdowns and peppering Trey McBride and Michael Wilson. But, dude, like the counting numbers were there, and that's what matters in fantasy, all right? We don't care about style points. That's not lost on me. But the amount that, again, Kyler just gets completely thrown under the bus here, like he still had some very high moments. He's done far more in the NFL than Jacoby freaking Brissett. Come on.
Are we just sleeping on Malik Willis here, who's going to be down 35 points through 2 quarters every single game? Then he's going to run and throw bombs?
If they had anyone for him to throw to. I like Chris Bell. Maybe he could be back before too long, but that knee's not looking good. Like, dude, the starting wide receiver room is going to be like Jalen Tolbert, Tutu Atwell, maybe Caleb Douglas if there's a guy. Like, we're honestly, and people are getting excited about Greg Dulcich. Like, we're doing this again in the year 2026. And I see the path. I see why people are excited about it. So it's just going to be such a struggle. I mean, if he throws for 3,000 yards, I'll be surprised.
Week 1, book it, Tutu Atwell over longest reception. He is getting
over receiving yards, under receptions.
Yeah, he's getting 8 shots downfield per game. He's coming down with one of them.
Is there a chance, genuinely, if Malik Willis plays all 17 games, is there a chance he leads the league and leads the QBs in rushing? Because I think there's going to be a huge factor of that offense is him using his legs to advance, especially if you're playing in a league that has specialty scoring like points for first downs and stuff. I think Malik Willis, if you want to take a shot on somebody and believe if the pass catchers be damned, I think he's going to be using his legs a lot.
This offense could essentially function like that Denver Tebow offense, but with a guy who can actually throw downfield, minus Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. So you have to weigh the pros and cons of that.
These archetypes, Taysom Hill too, when he actually was playing real quarterback. Of course he sucked, but he was still good in fantasy land. Tebow was a top 10 fantasy quarterback. It's wild.
Is there a case to make that the offense is so bad that he won't have a chance to run?
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean, he'll run. It'll be for like 2 yards a carry.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
But you need them to get to the red zone so he can score touchdowns eventually. But
can you remember a more shameless tank job than this? They're spending $30 million fewer dollars in the next cheapest offense, which is New York Jets.
Yeah, but if I was running a team, this is what I would do. I think nothing gets people more upset than playing the middle when you have absolutely no chance. Like, they have all this dead cap money. You can roll it forward for years. Like, the Saints tried to do this for like 5 straight years, and they were just kind of shit for 5 straight years, but not so bad they could get anyone good. Like, take your medicine, eat the dead cap, and then come out the other side in a year, and all of a sudden you got a ton of cap and the first overall pick. That makes sense to me.
I agree for the most part. My one issue is if Malik sucks as a passer this year, we're just going to do the Justin Fields rookie year thing and say, well, yeah, who was he supposed to throw to? So that's the only problem. Like, could you guys have not added someone? Go get a Keenan Allen wouldn't go play for that. That's the you're in Miami. You should be able to find a couple okay wide receivers, go no state income tax, hang out, with freaking Pitbull or whoever. Like, I don't know.
Hey, Steph Diggs likes the IG models. Get him down there.
Right.
Perfect. A perfect marriage. A perfect marriage is Steph Diggs in this Miami offense. I would love it. That would make me draft both of them. I'd have so much fun watching that team fall apart every Sunday on Red Zone. It'd be an absolute blast. I pray that Malik succeeds because I really like that guy. He was in Green Bay for a while. He grew a lot as a quarterback under that tutelage. However, this is a terrible, terrible situation. And both Miami and Arizona more so makes me scared to draft those players because of how much they will not care about this season winning or losing football games, especially those last 4 games for Arizona. If you're playing in a best ball league, it scares me away from the Trey McBrides that Jeremiah loves because I believe they're going to look at games against the Jets and the Raiders in those final 4 weeks and go, we can't win that because it'll take away 2 draft picks from us. So yeah, Miami and Arizona both are not playing for this season, and the NBA has crept into the NFL, sadly.
Get all of Ian's content in rankings. You can hit the show notes for the direct link, but you can find it at RotoWire.com. You can hit him up on OddsJam as well. Tony, where are people going to find you this football season? What's the one thing we can push to?
Tony Squares, wherever you imbibe social media, and on YouTube, it's Tony Squares NFL. We'll be live there almost every night this month, going through all 32 teams, breaking down the win-loss records for those teams, including starting off with those moribund Arizona Cardinals.
Well, those were the quarterback rankings. We've done the running backs. We've done the wide receivers. You can find links to those all in the description, or you can just sub to Mayo Media Network, scroll through videos, whichever, the short way or the long way, whichever you prefer, you can do. Because it's your choice on Mayo Media Network. Just smash like, give me a QB sleeper before you get out of there. And soon as you know, we'll be having the tight end ranks and tiers as well. Okay, so stay tuned. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!